Wow. Okay. If all goes as planned, we are live right now, live on Facebook and live on YouTube. I want to say thank you to everyone who has joined us. I am here with the one and only Mr. Ken Orman. Ken, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for the invitation, man. I really appreciate it. It's good to see you this morning.
Well, likewise, it's always good to see you. And I just thought, because there's so much craziness going on in the world right now, and the West Coast is on fire. Our socio-political environment continues to be insane. Those aren't the topics of our conversation for today. Our topics are, what can we say and share that can help people to maybe find a way through all this? And I wanted to speak with you because I know that you've had to come through some tough times. We've talked about it. And I wonder if you could share some of the things that you've discovered in your journey. And if I may, let's also look in the direction of creativity and innovation, because you're someone who, you're a numbers guy and you're also a creative guy. And that combination is, I think, both rare and fascinating, quite frankly. And I think that folks would like to hear how you stay positive in the midst of all this insanity. What are your thoughts?
Wow, this such big topics.
We're going small next week.
Okay.
Next week, we will be talking about paper clips. But today...
I've got more thoughts on that.
Exactly.
Well, it's such a, this is a topic that's near and dear to me, as you're right. I have, had this crazy up and down journey that has led me to a place of what I call it, like my journey for peace, and what is my journey for peace, and how did it start? Why did I end up where I ended up? What do I do to maintain a level of peace, and really what does peace mean to me? And you had a great question, which was, what can people do in order to get out of the place that they're at, if it's a negative place or depression? There's so much anxiety that is not just prevalent in the people that are impacted by COVID or by fires or by job losses or whatever, but I mean just life, just waking up in the morning. What does that look like for some people? And it's not a pleasant picture. So I totally appreciate the question, and then the platform to talk about it. So a real brief, I'll make it super, super brief, of where I was and how I got to where I am. In 2011, I started this journey for peace. I had so much animosity toward what had happened with a closing of a company that I had that was a financial company. And everybody knows what happened in 2007, starting 2007 or 6 rather, and leading to 2008. My company closed in 2007, and I didn't realize it at the time, but it was like watching myself, my own personal Ken, die, because I had invested so much of myself personally into the running of it. So when it didn't make it, it was much more traumatic than I thought it was, but I didn't realize that until years later. So there's 4 years in there, if you want to do the math on that I was in a very dark place, and that led to suicidal thoughts. And those things are tricky, and they don't look the same way for everybody. And I didn't recognize it even at first until much later, when I was visualizing, actually, like I could see myself doing it. And that was a massive wake-up call for me, which was like, well-adjusted people do not have these thoughts. What is going on?
Or do they?
Yeah, well, or do they? Or do they? Yeah, so I wanted to address that as quickly as possible, so that didn't become my reality. And so that was the direction that I headed. And in 2011, I had a breakup at the time with my now ex-wife, and I knew that there was foundationally I was the common denominator here. What could I do to improve my situation and the position that I was in? So I just found myself at Barnes and Noble in the self-help section
Mm.
for books on how to deal with a divorce. And there were books on that, definitely, but none of them were speaking to me. And then I came across a book called Love is Letting Go of Fear. That was out of place. It shouldn't have been where I was looking. It should have been someplace else, but it was there. And it was this little tiny 125-page book called Love is Letting Go of Fear by Gerald Jampolsky. And in his foreword, he says, you'll read the first chapter and you'll know if this book is for you. And so I stood there in that aisleway and I read the first chapter and I was like, yep, this book is for me. So I bought it, I took it home, and there's a 12-step program essentially on different meditations that are done every day. And I did those very consistently for about 18 months. And I felt different. Within the first 8 weeks, I could tell a difference. And by the end of the 18 months, I had such a different outlook on life. I had let go the vast majority of how I coped in those dark days, not from childhood. That's even further back, but in those dark days.
Next week's show, Ken's childhood.
Yeah,
but anyway, paper clips and Ken's childhood. We'll be covering that. But back to your story. So this book, though, this 18-month journey that you went on, it was really a shift in perspective.
Yeah, it definitely did. And it led me to a place where very consistently on a daily basis, I am practicing meditation. I am practicing forgiveness. I am practicing love. And rooted in all of it, of course, is gratitude. And you and I, we've talked about what a difference gratitude makes in everybody's life. When you don't acknowledge what it is that is the root of where you are, if you're in a depressed sort of place, immediately identifying the things that you're grateful for, of course, will change your perspective like right away. And so. And not just, like thinking about it, but like feeling it, like really feeling what that person means to me, or what that circumstance meant to me, or what my job means to me, or whatever the thing is that you've decided that is going to be where I'm going to focus my intent on being grateful, how that changes all of your state. Switching from a state of this thing is wrong and that thing is wrong, and I'm projecting fear out here, and I'm projecting shame and guilt over there, and I'm all of those things, because they become whatever it is that you want to make of them. But if you change that from being something that's fear-based, or something that creates guilt or anger or regret or whatever, and you change that into, I learned a lot from that, or I'm so happy that happened because that led me to this place, or whatever, it immediately will get that state changed, which helps in being able to, cope with whatever stresses that are happening at that moment. It takes it from a projection position into a position of, I can look inwardly and be grateful for this. It doesn't have to be anything that I thought it was before. I think that's such a powerful mind trick. It's the Jedi mind trick.
Is it a mind trick? Is it? I don't know. I mean, to me, I don't know if it's a mind trick. I mean, you're talking about, the projecting of guilt and shame and all this stuff. And I'm kind of projecting. It's kind of like this, if you know what I'm saying. When I go through and when I think about your story, a sense of loss. And I think that's something that we're all going through right now. Everybody is feeling a sense of whether it's, losing the ability to walk around in public without a mask on, or something much deeper than that. We're all experiencing these feelings of grief. But the thing that I take away from your story is that there's always a new perspective to be accessed. And the good thing that I know, I don't know a lot, but I know this. Um, our, our thinking is never fixed.
Oh,
And the way that even when I am in a rut and I'm like, there's a thought that keeps showing up and I can't get away from it and it looks so real and everything like that, at the end of the day, it is always just a thought.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and when we understand that our thoughts about the wolf at the door aren't the wolf at the door.
Hmm.
If that makes sense. I don't know if I just went too zen or anything, but I'm trying to say because what I've had to do is what you've had to do. When you have this experience of grief or loss, whether it's losing a business or whatever it might be, you have to step into it. And so many times I think people try to find distractions and denials. I mean, and that strategy never works. I mean, did you go through that of trying to go through a path of? Did you?
Yeah, for years and years, I distracted myself from the realities of what would actually make me happy into materialism or into consumerism or in something that's trying to, like if I can just take myself out of the way that I feel right now by getting that thing or by being in that situation or by drinking that or whatever it is. Of course, I mean we're distracting ourselves all the time, and we do it with television, we do it with our phones. We try to take ourselves out of a place that can lead us into like true happiness if we turned it around and we really looked at where the problems are. And my daughter has gone through bouts of anxiety. She has since she was a little kid, and she's in college now. And a couple of years back, her sophomore or freshman year, she was having these massive anxiety attacks. And what's the cause of those, and where are they coming from, and things like that.
Mm.
Um, where I think that can be, I mean, golly, I mean, the causes of that can be so numerous. She hadn't lived a life where she had too much to regret. She hadn't lived a life where she was like, oh, I can, do this other thing and distract myself from the way that I feel. This was coming from a different sort of perspective and a different sort of place. And so what we did, we triaged the anxiety, and we did it with 4 different steps, which is to breathe. And what the breath does is that it aligns your body and your mind and your spirit all together, by just focusing on that breath, to bring down that heart rate, to get the mind focused on something that's not external or something that's being projected or something that's being created as something that's anxiety inducing, but to really get it into a place of, I am here, I am present, I am with myself, and this breath matters to me. I mean, this breath is life. So that was the first piece. Gratitude. We were just talking about gratitude. So to be grateful for the breath and to be grateful for the position that she was in at that time, whether the anxiety, was being created by, fears of a test or fears of something else, all of that needs to be looked at. And yes, okay, that's problematic, but I'm grateful for that because that's going to lead me to a different place. I think that was so monumentally important to her. Forgiveness is the other piece of that, where, okay, cool. Now I can forgive these thoughts. I can forgive myself. I don't have to blame myself for these thoughts. I can be grateful for the thought. I can forgive the thought for whatever it's done, and I can let it go. And she would put it on there's lots of different ways to do that. I would crush mine with a big sledgehammer, Yeah.
Is that a mental sledgehammer, or did you actually go out and kind of Gallagher the thing?
Yeah, that would be a trick. That would be exciting.
You're talking about some visualizations and things that you did, I believe.
Yes.
Because that's where these challenges exist, and so that's where the changes need to take place. I feel like I need to say that for those of you that are watching this, that neither one of us are licensed therapists, and this is not an attempt to provide therapy, just some insights of a journey. Right. That Ken has gone through and that I have my own version of, and I suspect that you do too. And if breathing and gratitude and forgiveness can provide you some peace even in the midst of chaos, it might be worthwhile to look in that direction. What do you say? And I know you get point 4, and we're holding that. That's called suspense. That's what I've heard. So what my question is what do you say to someone who, like, I have a friend of mine in San Diego who lost his house in the fires. Good friend of mine, and he lost everything. And how can we find gratitude in the midst of loss and in the midst of restrictions and so many of the challenges that people are facing today? Where do you go to find gratitude?
Wow, I'm not faced with that. I haven't been faced with that. Of course, grief comes in lots of different ways, and yeah, working to find a place, internally that, you find that spark of, yes, I'm grateful for this piece. That's really, it's so personal.
Yeah, I tell you, for me, I just, there's always things to be grateful for.
Yeah, there are.
There always is, even in the midst of everything that we're all going through. There are things to be grateful for, and there are things to let go of. I mean, you're kind of talking about, the idea of forgiveness, I think, is so powerful. We've talked about this before, yeah. But this idea of what is it that you can, sort of an emotional Marie Kondo move, where you're kind of grateful for that thing that's in your life, and you bless it and you let it go, and that can be in many ways a path back to gratitude and back to some clarity and back to that breath that connects everything. So let's go. I held you off on point number 4. What was the 4th thing?
Well, it followed up all with love. And returning to love, and unconditional love is, I will say that, yes, the book definitely got me going down that path, but ultimately it came down to the decision to just love unconditionally. And that was so powerful for me. And it's hard to say, yes, you have to love everybody unconditionally in a way that, accepts them for who they are, because there's a lot of, negativity that isn't just somebody being negative, but there's, true forces of evil or, bad malintent that goes beyond just, a negative stance or somebody that you don't get along with or something like that. So, yeah, finding love is the one piece that has sustained being able to be at peace for as long.
Let's talk about that for a second. I want to look at that for just a second, because on this journey, you helped your daughter to see some things and to see gratitude in the midst of some anxiety and some things she was facing. You've had to go through that yourself. Looking in the direction of love points me towards a story of second chances. And I want to just come in close so I can tell the entire internet what it is that is Ken Orman's best quality. The thing that I like best about Ken is his wife. So talk about when you looked in the direction of love and you stepped into this place of love. What did you find, or maybe who found you?
Yeah. Well, I tell the story this way, and yes, I will second your position on your most favorite thing about me is also the thing that I love most about you.
I don't even know what that means.
Let's
just go with it.
Yes, your wife. Yeah, so I tell the story, and by the way, I will tell the internet that Chris was our as Morgana and I got married, he was the facilitator.
That's right. I helped Ken helped Ken and his wife to exchange their wedding vows, and I actually for their wedding got my license as an ordained minister to be able to do that. But we're talking about your wife because because we know her, but nobody. Maybe people who are watching this are like, who is this person, and what is so special about her? So tell people just a smidgen about your wife and a story about second chances.
Yeah.
What do you got?
A smidgen. Wow. How do I sum that up? the second chance, how that works is something that for me, it. So Morgana, let's just talk about that second chance. Morgana is somebody that is absolutely rooted in love. Her whole perspective of life is about being rooted in love and listening with love. And projecting love onto circumstances and situations that probably normally wouldn't have, the normal person wouldn't do that.
Right. They don't normally deserve it. And she finds it. Yes.
She's amazing. And it's really helped me in my, in the way that I present myself. Like I've got this board over here, and I'm not going to bore you with it, but the very first thing on there is listen with love. And I heard her say that not just about her acting, but also she's an actor, and she's an incredible actor, and she's had an amazing career. She's in movies, television, theater, and we met with her doing a show, and I wanted to meet her after I saw her incredible performance. But is that she listens with love. She listens to everybody with love. She gives everybody 100% of her attention. And what that means to our meeting was that she was completely in a place where she could do that. She was surrounded with, people that loved her. She loved them. She loved the work that she was doing. And it just bounced right off of her. I mean, she was just like this massive light. And it's funny is that she says the same thing about me. And at the time I was very comfortable where I was in my life. And I wasn't looking specifically to, have somebody come into my life and to fall in love and that sort of thing. I was in a place that I was very open to love, and not like romantic love, even just like in general, just like generally living your life and being connected to other people. So that was an amazing meeting. That second chance would not have happened had I not gone on the journey of peace that I was on, and my perspective on what I wanted my life to be and what I wanted to reflect back to my kids, to show them what was important, because I had spent so many years focused on this whole idea around consumerism and materialism, and this American ideal of this is what you need to do, and this is the treadmill that you get on, and after you get on that treadmill, then you get off the treadmill at this place, and then you do this thing, and then you die. And I was doing that, and I didn't realize how draining that was to my life, and how much it was sucking out of really who I am, which is not that at all. I can do numbers like you had mentioned, but what I love to do is serve. And I like to do that creatively. And I like to do that outside of a construct that looks like the path that I was on. And now that I see what that was, it's so much easier to say, oh, no, never again, ever, for any reason will I go back there. And this second chance path has led me to a person that listens with love, that is full of love, that believes in why she's doing what it is that she's doing in every respect. And she can give the energy that she gives to her work out to people, out to different types of work. And that has helped me with, I'll be really honest, Monday, Tuesday, and even part of yesterday, I was that positive Ken. It was tough to find that guy. He was still looking for things to be grateful for during the day. But that I had to find, that I had to look for. And by having somebody in my life that is really good at that knows how to do that, can tap into that quickly. If you can hear,
I know you need to feed the bulldog, Ken. You need
the dog.
That's Ken's dog, Maneater.
Maneater.
Yes. It's Barkley. It's Barkley, the adorable bulldog that is hungry for attention or something.
Every moment that he's seconding everything, because
that's what it is. I hear you guys talking about love. I need some.
That's right.
I need some love.
Bring it over here.
And he's kind of a love dispenser, from what I could tell.
That's right.
I want to say a couple of things that I want to do. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Restream. Restream is the Austin-based company that has shared this technology with me, allowing us to go live and to experiment and play with an opportunity to go live to both YouTube and Facebook. And so a quick shout out to the folks in Austin. And if you want to find out more about Restream, Restream.io is their web address, and they're enabling this conversation. to take place. But I want to come back to this idea of second chances, because here, Ken, here's what shows up for me. The thing that we often lose sight of, and it's part of when our perspective shrinks down and our thinking gets more and more tight, if you will, where the world starts to look like we're looking at it through a microscope and we're unable to see other options. I think that it's really useful to remember a little strategy that I call Yahoo, which isn't about the search engine. It stands for you always have other options. And the thing that is easy to forget, especially when we're in the midst of a lot of thinking, and I've experienced this myself, is that other options are always available. And a second chances are always there. That's been my experience. And you may say, well, that's not true. If I lost my job, I don't have a second chance at going back to that job. Right. But you still do have a second chance.
Sure.
There's always an opportunity for reinvention. And I think, I think, Ken, your story is one of someone who has had to reinvent, who's had to not only address your own personal struggles, but you've been able to help your daughter and others. And on the backside of that mountain, even though you still have some bad days, and let me just say, I'm right there with you. Some days are better than others, right?
Yeah.
But second chances are always available. And so as we come to the bottom of the hour and kind of our time together, I just wanted to kind of leave folks with that thought and that reminder that you don't have to believe everything you think. And
definitely not.
And I'll tell you what, when I'm trapped, when the world looks like this, it's because I'm believing everything that I think.
Yeah.
Thoughts are just thoughts. And when a new one shows up, there's new opportunity. And that opportunity is always available to create change. And even in times when it's really hard to change the channel, there's always another thought on its way. There's always an opportunity. At least that's been my experience. And that's what I'm taking away from your story, is that there's an opportunity to, even in the midst of crisis, even after losing a business, even after a marriage has gone by the wayside, there's still more to discover. And I think that's the takeaway for me. And I really appreciate you being willing to share your story and your insights. How can if people are interested in connecting with you, what's the best way to would that be on Facebook? Because I know you share some powerful and inspirational videos on a weekly basis, and you got some great stuff there. Is that the best way for folks to connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on Facebook for foreseeable future, even though I did watch Social Dilemma.
Me too. And now I've got a social dilemma now. Thanks.
What do I do now?
I don't know. What is this thing for?
I don't know.
Actually, I thought it gave me a great perspective, and it kind of gave me a little bit of Yahoo. It let me know that you always have other options,
For sure.
And you don't have to respond to every beep and buzz.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really powerful message too.
Yeah.
But we digress. Folks, if you enjoyed this conversation with Ken Orman and you're interested in hearing more, don't hesitate to reach out to me and let me know what's on your mind. What's going to be the story and the message in the interview that's going to create meaningful change for you, that's going to help you to see new possibilities in the midst of life's challenges. I'm calling this series Virtually Perfect with a K, because as you can tell from some of the things that have gone on today, it's not exactly perfect, but it's close. And as our world has moved into this virtual space, how can we stay connected in times of isolation? How can we make sure that we are doing everything we can to be virtually perfect? And that's the direction where I'm going to continue to look as part of my platform. If you're curious to know more about me, you can find me, you've probably already found me on Facebook or YouTube, but you can also find me on LinkedIn and Instagram, and my handles pretty much everywhere are Westfall Online, and my last name is like fall in the West, Westfall Online. And that's also my website, westfallonline.com. If you're curious to learn more about my thoughts around the pandemic, the global situation, careers, leadership, and other things, you can also find my latest posts on Forbes.com. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And let me come back to you, Ken, to say thanks once again for sharing your story and your willingness to be a light in some difficult times. And I'll give you the last word, my man. Any closing thoughts that people need to know? Take us in.
Wow. Yeah. I would encourage everybody if you can at any point during the day, be grateful for something. It doesn't have to be anything specific. It can be anything. Or the best time of the day to do that is right when you wake up. And thank you, Chris. I mean, this has been great, man. I've had so much fun. I appreciate this.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to wait till I wake up again to be grateful. I'm going to try to find some gratitude right now. And I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for everybody who jumped in. Thank you so much for folks who jumped in on the chat. If I were smarter, I'd be able to respond to you. But this is a new platform I'm figuring out. That's why there's a K in Virtually Perfect. And maybe I'll be better next week. But I hope you will be able to find some gratitude. And Ken, I'm grateful for you. Thanks, everyone who joined. And I look forward to reading your comments. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Chris.
So long.